Hello and welcome to another episode of Dishin with Andy. So today we're going to be talking about quite a few different things. We're going to finish up looking at Blade Runner with Blade Runner 2049 and the other Blade Runner, the little mini short film. They made a couple of them between the two major movies. I've only ever seen one of them, so I'm going to talk about the one I saw. But first, I'm going to talk about the new Mario Golf that just came out on the Switch. I've been playing that the last couple days, and I gotta say, it's amazing. My wife loves it too. We have a really good time playing it. Super Rush. I highly recommend it. There's only 6 courses to start, and we unlocked them all pretty easily. You just basically gotta play 18 holes on, the other courts. And a really easy way to do that is just grab 2 players and play standard golf, and you can do it at the same time. And just play 9 holes each, and that counts as 18 holes between the 2 people, and it unlocks it. We had a lot of fun with this. We played last night with Fish. We played with a coworker of mine as well, all at the same time. Had a blast. It was really competitive. It was quite fun. Now, my wife, she didn't really care for the speed golf thing. I can see where it would be a lot of fun. But normally when she would play that mode, for some reason she would pick like a big character like Bowser or King Babam, and he'd run really slow, and that was not the best. I also don't understand the scoring too well on the speed golf. It's just kind of weird. I haven't really looked it up. I've only ever had time to really play the normal modes. So, yeah, I highly recommend it. What we like, excuse me, what we like to do is we like to play standard golf, and then you play at the same time with the power-ups on. And so that way you can't really interact with each other's hits and stuff. Only way you can is by using your power-ups at a certain moment. And that seems to be about the most fun I've had on it. The tournament mode seems like capture the flag. We only tried it with 2 people, not with CPUs. I don't know. Now the adventure mode so far has been okay. It's been like a big tutorial. I haven't played too much of that either. I'm going to be spending a lot of time tomorrow doing that. As I don't have anything on my schedule. And so I'm going to be doing that quite a bit. I already cleared the day for it. But yeah, Mario Golf Super Rush. If I were to give it a score, I'd say right now as it stands, I'd give it an 8 out of 10. Easily. There are a few things when you're playing like 2-player split screen, the graphics look kind of weird, like Mario and stuff. The edges of him doesn't look as sharp as he could be on 2-player mode that I've noticed. And there is a lot of like pop-in, but it's really weird pop-in. You'll hit your ball and it'll be flying in, the camera follows it, and suddenly these flowers are just getting bigger and bigger out of the ground. That's kind of weird, jarring, but other than that, things like that, it plays great. We did have some issues with the second player controller. Will work in the Switch menu, but it won't work in the game. It's really weird. We had to restart some games because of that, but that's rare. It's been a good experience so far. I'm looking forward to the free updates, like New Donk City as a course. That looks like a lot of fun. The power-ups are kind of cool. Nice animations on them. Yeah, I highly recommend it. If you're looking for something that is just fun to play with the family, pick this up. You guys are going to have a blast. It's really good value for what it is. So that is my thoughts on Super Rush. I haven't really played any of the other Mario Golfs. I'm not sure why this one caught my attention so much, but it did. So I'm kind of glad that it did, because I've been enjoying it quite a bit. So on to Blade Runner. So in between the 2 Blade Runner movies, there is a few shorts. One is an anime, and it explains the blackout. They talk about the blackout in 2049, and they don't really kind of say what it is in the movie other than it's a blackout and there's a bunch of data loss. But in the anime, they do. Now, there's also 2 live-action ones with actors from 2049. I haven't seen those. The animated one, though. So, it is about a guy and a girl who are replicants, and replicants are basically like getting beaten up and stuff, and they're tired of it. So, they have a guy on the inside at some kind of a military facility, and they launch an EMP, and at the same time, the guy detonates the EMP, which costs him his life, but he does it. There is the one guy and the girl are breaking into this backup facility, and they're going to blow it up. The girl gets killed. The guy successfully does the job. It shows him as a soldier, which is what Dave Bautista's character in 2049 talks about, being a soldier. So maybe that's how they're linking that part of it. And he walks away, and that's the blackout. They basically cause a bunch of data, and it shows the city, Los Angeles, losing power, and all the sky cars, and I can't remember the names for some reason. Spinners, all the spinners falling out of the sky, crashing into buildings and stuff. It shows all that happening, and that's the blackout. It's like a couple weeks or a couple months of pure power outage and all the data, so nobody knows who a replicant is for a while. So that's the blackout. If you watch any of the shorts, that would be the one I recommend, because it does kind of fill you in on a few things they talk about in 2049. So now, back on to the main movie. Movie opens, Ryan Gosling's character, Kay, who is a replicant Blade Hunter. He is a replicant and a Blade Runner. So, for all of you Deckard is a replicant fans, you can, well, there for sure is a replicant Blade Runner. Anyways, he's outside of the city. He is in, I don't know, it's basically a big looking like solar panel field with a bunch of farms, and or it looks like a farm, and there's like grub farms and stuff, and his spinner's flying over, and he lands outside this dead tree outside of a little cabin, which is actually kind of how Ridley Scott wanted to open the original Blade Runner, was had Deckard going to a cabin to, you know, get rid of someone, so they kind of paid homage to that by doing this. Anyways, the guy that was in there looking at the grubs, he was watching the spinner fly over. He comes out, he's in his suit, and it's Dave Bautista's character, Sapper Morton. Again, really weird name. Who names these poor people? Anyways, and they have a discussion. Sapper knows why he's there. Kay knows why he's there. And he's like, well, you've never seen a miracle. And he doesn't understand at first what that's about. And then he's like, you know, I can't believe you're going to retire your own kind. And then Ryan Reynolds is, or not Ryan Reynolds, wow. Ryan Gosling's like, well, my kind don't run. And so they have a big fight there and stuff, and it's pretty cool. And he ends up retiring Sapper. And he goes to leave, and he's got this like little drone on his car. And the drone's flying around the dead tree, and it sees like a box buried underground. And he tells his boss about it, which is, I can't remember her name, but she played Jenny in Forrest Gump, and I think she's in Wonder Woman now. Anyways, so she tells him to just go ahead and leave it, and they have a team that'll come and get that, basically. And so he does, and he goes back to the city, goes back to the PD, and he's got to do this kind of routine where they make sure he's what they call on base, because his model replicant doesn't rebel quite as easily. And so he goes there, and he goes to the base thing, and the police officer's telling him about it. And I might get the order of events confused here. It is like a almost 3-hour movie, and I haven't seen it for a few months. So anyways, long story short, the box contained the skeleton of Rachel from the original movie. And they figure out that there was a birth. And for a while during the movie, Ryan Gosling's character thinks he is the child. He keeps having these reoccurring dreams of running through this, it looks like an industrial like factory, and these kids chasing him after and he's got this little wooden horse that they want. And they basically, he hides the wooden horse in the dream, and the kids beat the crap out of him. So after leaving the precinct, he goes home, and there they introduce Anna de Armas's character, Joy, Joi, and she is like an AI companion, and he bought her a gift, and the gift lets her leave the apartment. If you've ever seen Star Trek Voyager, it is like the Doctor's mobile emitter. It lets her act as a hologram outside of his apartment. So we're shredding some carrots here, and boy, this thing is, yeah, not coming out too easy. Anyways, so she goes out in the rain with him and stuff, and he gets a call from his boss to come in and look at the skeleton, and that's when they determine that it was Rachel. And he's in there, and they figure out there's a birth, and he starts, and they tell him he has to keep it quiet, but he's going to investigate it. So he goes, and he goes to what's called the Wayland Corporation. It's not Tyrell. Is it Wayland? No, Wayland's an alien. I'm getting my corporations confused here, my imaginary corporations. He goes to the, I'm going to look it up now. I'll be right back. Wallace Corporation. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, you can tell why I thought it was the other one, though. They're very similar. Wayland, Wallace. Anyways, he goes to the Wallace Corporation, who bought the Tyrell Corporation. Tyrell was obviously the replicant person in the original film. And they, since replicants were outlawed for a while, they went under. Now, Wallace Corporation didn't make just replicants. They also make other products like Joy. And he goes there to investigate. He's trying to investigate Rachel and stuff because they want to keep the idea that Rachel gave birth, the PD does, under wraps, because that literally could cause panic with humanity if artificial humans are reproducing. So he goes there, and he's digging up some stuff, and he's trying to figure out Rachel's identity, and it's pre-blackout, of course, and they do play a clip from the original movie, like a little bit of audio and stuff. And that is where they introduce the character also of Neander Wallace, which is played by Jared Leto, but they also introduce Love, his like right-hand person, and that is, she is a vicious killing machine, basically. She seems to hate just about anything. And Wallace tells her in a really creepy room where he's slitting new replicant's belly open and killing the replicant. It's weird. He is telling her to basically do the same job that Kay is doing and figure out, because Tyrell had the secret to reproduction for the replicant and took it to his grave. So Jared Leto starts going, and he... When does he do this? I can't remember the order of films, but he figures out there were two children, one listed as dead, one listed as alive, and they were at an orphanage. So he goes to the orphanage, gets shot down on his way there, right outside of it, by, I don't know, they never say who, but Joy has his back. She is watching with like a satellite and firing missiles at the people that are shooting him out of the sky. And he goes there, and there is the guy that runs it is being real mean to the kids at first, so he figures out he's a cop. Then he's real nice to them. The guy is played really well by Lenny James from Walking Dead. I can't remember his character on Walking Dead. That's probably where I know him from the most. I cannot remember what his name is. He's the he's the black guy Rick runs into in the very first episode with his son, whose wife has like been turned into a zombie, and then he shows up later in the series as well, and then he got moved to another show. I cannot remember his name. Anyways, he plays the character very well, and he goes there, and the log is missing out of the book, and he's very mad about that. Can't figure out why the log book is missing of that birth and stuff. While he's there, it also is the same industrial area from his dreams, and he goes to where he hides the horse in his dreams, and sure enough, it's there with the same date underneath of it. And so they go back, or he goes back, and he starts digging some more, and he's off base at this. Well, no, he goes to the person that makes memories. That's right, designs the memories, and she tells him if it's real or not. And she looks at the memory, and she's in like this bubble. She has some kind of a problem with her immune system. And she tells him that, yes, this is a real memory. It's not. It's an implanted one. It's not a fake one, which is highly illegal. And he gets really mad. This is the point where he first shows emotion in the movie, actually. And he gets really mad and screams and yells and stuff and leaves. And when he goes back to the PD, he's off base. And his boss is like, well, what the heck's wrong with you? And he's like, I need to fix this. And he's like, is there anything you can do for me? And she's like, well, give me your gun and your badge. And, you have to be base level by your next test. I can't do anything else other than that. Give me a second here. So he goes back to his apartment, and him and Joy are talking, and he's like, well, they're after me. He knows the Wallace people are there. At this point, the Wallace replicant Joy has already killed the lab assistant to take Rachel's bones, and he's like, they're going to be coming after me next. And they, so Joy says, well, take me with you. And he's like, well, if I download you to the little thing, if that gets destroyed, that's it. You'll be dead. And, it's big foreshadowing, of course. And so they take it to this dude who runs like a shop. And he tells them, oh man, it's highly irradiated wood, or it was at one point. That can only come from one place where there was a dirty bomb. And that is Las Vegas. And so they have to go to Vegas. At this point, Kay's boss gets killed in the police department. So she can figure out where Kay is going. And so Love can. So Kay heads off to Las Vegas. And the shots of this are pretty cool. They're like really foggy and dark and well, not dark in that sense. It's really foggy and like bright yellows and stuff on the outside, and he realizes the radiation is down to a level where people could be there. So he goes there and runs into Rick Deckard, obviously Harrison Ford from the original film. So now he comes into play, and at first they have a big fight and stuff, and Harrison Ford's finally like, you know what, why don't I just get you a drink? I'm tired of this. And they're like, yeah, okay. So they have he has a dog there and everything. And of course, Deckard still has this pretty cool gun. And he asks him if the dog is real. And he goes, I don't know, why don't you ask him? So they start talking about, well, Kay asks him about, his child. Rick has never met her because he wanted to keep her safe. So while they're discussing it, Love comes in. And not comes in a small way. They're like bombing, like firing missiles into Deckard's building. And they kidnap Deckard. They kill Joy. They crush her little emitter thing and leave Kay for dead. So while Kay is down, there's a whole subplot that I forgot about that kind of probably would be important at this point. There's a weird scene where Joy wants to make love to Ryan Gosling for real, so she hires a prostitute played by, I don't know her name. I think she was in like a show for AMC as well, Fire Halt something, the one about computers. I've never seen it. It's the only thing I know her from. So she like syncs up with her or something, and they have a good time. And when the lady was leaving, she left a tracker in Kay's coat. Anyways, so Kay's laying there for dead. Not dead, but laying there like he's dying. And the lady comes in there and rescues him, along with who she works for. And it is the Replicant Resistance. They're wanting to have like a little war for freedom. And they rescue him. And at this point, he's talking to him, and he, they tell him, what, you think you're Rachel's kid, Rick and Rachel's kid? And he's like, well, yeah. And they're kind of laughing at him, and, he's not. And so he's like, okay. But he goes, well, they give him a mission to kill Rick, because they know Wallace is going to torture him to get information out of him. And they don't want that information to get into Wallace's hands. So he leaves, and you're wondering, okay, is Rick really going to go through with killing Deckard or anything? So the movie then goes to Wallace's place, and they are discussing, in the really weird way Wallace talks, Deckard and Wallace are discussing this whole matter, and he offers him a copy of Rachel back. And at this point, Rachel comes walking out, and it looks just like Sean Young did back in the 80s. Obviously, she doesn't look like that anymore. It's been several, decades. And she comes walking out, and they did some really good CGI in this scene, like the kind they did in Rogue One and some other movies, to bring, Rachel back to being younger, de-age her. And Rick looks at, the replicant of Rachel and says, well, her eyes were green. And, of course, Wallace has her put down right then and there, Rachel. And I read a quote that someone said, well, her eyes were, in fact, brown, like they were in the movie. But they said that someone's eyes are the window to the soul. And so they that's why he said that. Anyways, so he won't say anything, so they're like, well, we're going to take you off-world, and which is part of the stupidest part of the movie. We're going to take you off-world to torture you. You can't torture him on-world, so the only reason they do this is so Kay has a chance to intercept. And, of course, that's exactly what happens. They're flying with 3 spinners, and he takes the other 2 out, makes the other one crash, and then him and Love have a big fight, shootout, and fighting, and he ends up drowning Love, Kay does. And right before Deckard's about to drown, he rescues him and brings him there, and or brings him out of the car that's about to go under the water, because they crashed by this great big wall to keep the seawater out. Anyways, Deckard's like, well, what are you doing with me? Where are you taking me? He's like, I'm taking you to see your daughter. In the meantime, Kay figured out that the girl with the compromised immune system, that's actually Deckard's daughter. So he brings him to the compromised immune system girl, and he and one of the saddest moments or something, he tells him to go inside, and he's fine or whatever. And it shows Deckard going in and seeing the girl, and it shows Ryan Gosling's character laying back on the steps, because he's really been beat up at this point. He's been shot a couple times, he's been fighting and hurt, and it shows him laying there, and while the Tears and Rain song kind of plays a little bit, it's not like a bunch, he lays there, and it's implied that he passes away watching the snow fall down, fulfilling basically his life, being that he did witness a miracle. He became selfless, basically, and that's how the movie ends. So my rating on it is it as good as the original? It definitely is more flashier than the original. It is, I can't remember the guy's name. He's like a drunk guy that does movie reviews or something. He's Irish. Critical Drinker, I think. He's called it the Apple Store equivalent of a sequel. And in my opinion, it's a good sequel. It really is. Is it better than the original? On a scale of asking important questions, no. This movie does not ask any poignant questions of, what does it mean to be alive? It doesn't do anything like that. It is just a safe, secure continuation of an existing story with a satisfactory conclusion, with satisfactory callbacks to the original. There's even a scene with the one cop played by Edward James Olmos as well. He's in there for a little bit, so there's little cameos like that. So it's everything a sequel needs to be. And Ryan Gosling's acting in this is perfect. I mean, just great. The guy, I don't watch a lot of Ryan Gosling movies, not because I don't like him or anything. A lot of his movies don't seem to interest me. He's perfect in this movie, though, as Kay, the robot. I couldn't think of a better actor to play the role. I mean, there's there's little tiny scenes like, you know, he's coming home and there's all this nasty graffiti on his house or his apartment door about, you know, being a skin job. That's what they call him in this movie. And like even the police are saying things to him like that. And he just walks right by. It's really a great film, and I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. It's a great sequel. If you haven't seen the original, watch it. This movie is easier to follow than the original. The original is it's got some weird elements, like I said, with Pris and the way people act. Parts of it are kind of weird. This movie doesn't have any of that. It's pretty much straight by the numbers movie, and I mean, that's not a bad thing. There have been definitely worse sequels of movies in the world. All right, so that's my thoughts on that movie, Blade Runner 2049. I liked it. Check it out. It's a good movie. Mario Golf Super Rush, amazing. Join me next time when we're going to shift gears a little bit, actually a lot, and we're not going to talk about movies or music or something this next one. We are going to talk about music at some point in the future, but I'm going to talk about some real crime. We're going to talk about the Circleville, Ohio letter writer. I know a lot of people have talked about it before, but join me and get my take on it, and if you've never heard about this, don't look it up yet. Just let me introduce you to it, and then look it up, okay? All right. Thanks for joining me doing my dishes. Now get over here and help me dry. Bye.